Welcome, friends of the Greasy Shop Rag. Today we're going to take a look at a Husqvarna 130L string trimmer. We're going to replace the ignition coil on it. Now this is part of a preventative campaign and a recall on Husqvarna's part. There was some problems with ignition coils, and I'm not sure the details of why we're replacing it. I just know that as a dealer tech, I have to replace it. The effective models would be the 130L, the 130C, and the 330LK. It would be all models in North America, and unless it's got a 2024 barcode on the clutch cover near the fuel tank that SKU number doesn't match the emissions tag SKU number. If those don't match, then it's already been updated. So we have removed the shaft from the string trimmer. Now we're going to remove the engine cover, clutch cover. There are 2 screws on the starter side, and there's 4 screws on the clutch hub side. We're just going to buzz these right out. So there's a lot of these that have to be done. I think we had 10 of them right off the bat that I got to run through quick and put coils in them before we can sell them this spring. So you're going to get good at this if you're a dealer tech. And it's not a hard job anyway. We got the clutch hub off of there. I removed the wire, the kill wire from the coil. And we'll pull the 2 screws out that hold that ignition coil in place. Now pay attention to the routing of the blue wires. They go up underneath the high tension lead, and the actual routing of that high tension lead. If you look at the ignition coil, there's a part number on it, and you can confirm that you're working on a machine with the old part number and not one that's been done already. So what order you put this together in, that's up to you. I just decided to throw the boot on top of the spark plug, but you see that there's this protective sleeve on the high tension lead. You want to move that all the way down towards the coil. There's a kind of a protrusion on the housing. I'll show you that. We're keeping the wire from rubbing on it. Now you see the blue wires, they come up underneath that high tension lead. Then you got one on the ground lug, and the other one has got the terminal on it that goes on the spade. So right there's that knob I was talking about. That cover is going to kind of protect the wire from rubbing on that knob. And this grounding terminal, you want to make sure that it's running parallel with the top of the coil and not hanging out there where the cover is going to rub into it. This is just an official Husqvarna gap gauge for the air gap on that ignition module. 0.3 millimeters though if you don't have the gauge. You see that terminal that's running parallel with the top of the coil. Now we're going to crank down the bolts. We're going to torque them down. The spec that Husqvarna gives is 3.4 to 4.5 Newton meters. If you set your torque wrench at 4 Newton meters, you're going to be in the range for most of the screws on this repair. Alright, we have routed our high tension lead. You see that paper gasket right there? You want to be careful that when you put this clutch cover on, you're not grabbing that gasket and folding it in. It'll be on the outside of the clutch cover. And that spark plug lead is got to kind of run straight off. Right here I'm twisting the boot because there's a plastic gap in that orange cover that wire slips in between. And we'll run these screws down. There's a torque value for them. I don't know if I posted it here. There we go, torque wrench. So again, you see we're in that 4 Newton meter range. And you want to tighten these down in a cross pattern, an X pattern. Now this muffler heat shield, there's 2 tabs on one side and 2 screws on the other side. Drop the tabs in, tighten the screws down. 4 Newton meters will be on the high side for these. And the last 2 screws that are running into the clutch hub cover. Again, 4 Newton meters is on the high side of the torque range. So now the shaft has to go back in. We kind of skipped over this in the beginning, but pretty simple operation. The handle has to be, the 4 screws in it have to be loose so that the shaft slides through it. And then there's 2 other bolts. So there's a locating bolt on the top of the, right there. And there's the hole in the shaft. So it's pretty easy to tell that the shaft is fully seated because the hole is going to line up and you'll be able to see that clearly before you drop the screw in there. And the 2 bolts alongside it are clamping bolts. Those get torqued down pretty decent. I'll give you them values here in a minute. So now your 4 Newton meters is out the window. We're 6 to 8 Newton meters on the clamping bolts. And then there's the hole for the locating pin on the trigger assembly. We'll tighten these down. And at the end of this video here, you'll see that I marked my recall equipment so I know that the job's been done. I put a little red dot on the serial number tag. You can do whatever you want. So that's all I got for you on the Husqvarna 130 string trimmer coil replacement. Thanks for watching. Later.